Productions.
The Green Route merch available now on sourkidsmerch.com.
Due to suggestive adult themes and dialogue, this podcast is intended for adults. In other words, the truth is ugly, so we get ugly right along with it. Everything we say is out of love for ourselves, our people, and our community. Sincerely, the Green Route Podcast. I want to welcome y'all to the Green Route Podcast. I am GS.
And I'm Marlissa. My partner done cut his hair off on me.
I was wondering when you were going to notice.
I saw it on your social media.
Oh, you did?
When you was DJing at AT&T, I was like,
he
cut his hair off.
Yes.
You know everybody was putting it on their stories. So.
I did. Yes. I saw a good amount of people. And honestly, to be even more transparent, now I'm going to be more comfortable with these videos because I feel like I didn't like I loved having hair, but I didn't like how I looked in a lot of the videos because I just, you got to put like time and energy into it. And that's why I had to cut it because I just being honest with myself, like I don't have the time and the energy to keep it up.
That's fair.
And plus this makes me a little more kind of like, I don't know, it's a look that goes with your mentality.
Okay.
And so this is my mentality. Short, to the point.
I like it.
Let's get it.
I like it. And it grows so fast. Even if you want your curls back, you can pop that off. So
Yeah, for sure.
It grows super quick. All right, you ready to get into this?
Let's get to it.
All right. If I can get my phone open. All right, y'all. So first things first. Yesterday, President Biden announced an executive action that was really going to change the border policy to some kind of draconian spaces. Like we're talking like Trump level, border policy. So a little background on this, y'all. So I think we had discussed twice on this show now, the Senate killing the border bill. And part of that border bill, so the first one, remember, was tied to the foreign aid for our allies. So Israel, Ukraine, Taiwan, and some others. Well, then they split it up, right? They passed the foreign aid, and it was because apparently Trump went to the Republicans in the Senate and was like, I know you motherfuckers are not trying to pass border policy during a presidential election year. So the same folks who had actually penned and authored the border policy ended up voting against it because they boy was like, do not pass this during a presidential election year. So then they brought it up again. Chuck Schumer was like, I'm bringing it back again. It failed again. But part of that border policy was exactly what Biden just did. So what he did was he took executive action to pretty much shut the border down. And what the border policy said is if we see a certain number of migrants in a week or in a month, we have pretty much the executive authority to shut it down, not just shutting the actual crossings down, but also the asylum application process as well. And so when I saw the announcement, yesterday I was running around the meetings and stuff. And so I saw the news announcement and I was like, oh, he's trying to now poach from the other side of the aisle.
Absolutely.
That it's politics.
So when I saw it, number one, that's exactly what I thought. He's clearly trying to tap into Trump's base. And again, it's a sign that because of his terrible policy or ideas on the genocide that's happening in Gaza, the murders that are happening in the West Bank, everyone's watching it. And he's lost a big chunk of that vote. So now he needs to appeal to the other side. And how do you appeal to the other sthe dog whistle of border control, border policy, on the border. Terrorists are coming in. And the thing, what makes it so fucked up, first of all, the ACLU is already sued over this. And now they're preparing to sue again because, to be honest with you, it comes off like a war crime in a sense to where it is punishing multiple people because the way it's set up, it's like this. I don't know the exact, was it 1,500 in a day or something like that? So it's 1,500 in a day. They're basically saying that once they get to that number in terms of they're even including people who cross illegally, people who come over illegally that they can count. So people who are quote unquote trying to do it the right way will be punished by people who are doing it the quote unquote wrong way. And to me, that's not fair. Yeah. That's not okay.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of this, right? This bipartisan bill that the Senate has now killed twice was to give everyone what they wanted. What Republicans were screaming for was tighter border control. And, they was supposed to be building a wall. I'm not really sure how much of the wall was completed. The wall that Mexico was supposed to be paying for. And they was like, no, we're not. Yeah. And the other side was foreign aid. So you literally had a bipartisan bill that was supposed to pass because everybody was going to be happy. When that failed, I guess Biden started looking at, all right, how can I split the difference? Because obviously Democrats have already gotten what they wanted within the $95 billion foreign aid package that was just passed. Now he's probably looking for some support, not only from the Trump base, but also in the congressional body as well, in hopes that some of them may turn on their boy with his recent, 34 counts?
34 count felony.
Guilty.
Yeah, guilty.
So yeah, I mean, Biden is this is what we've been talking about on this show. As much as we would love to act like the Democrats are here for us and they believe in, opportunity for all. And if you come over the right way, you can live the American dream. Part. Even now, we are seeing that shit is a lie.
And y'all, it is politics. It is them kicking the can down the road. When I think about what's going on specifically with the border, I think about how they're coming from South American countries. If I was a gambling man, I would gamble that at least 85% of them come from countries in which America has direct ties to their country in terms of their history, coups, in terms of installing their own leaders. We've mentioned this before, but that's it. And it's like America right now is being exposed. They're being exposed. Number one, they're showing that they are okay with being paid by a foreign entity because that's all that is. A foreign government is lobbying, but sending money directly to senators and congressmen to get things passed. We're not even talk about what's happening right now with the ICC. That's coming. That's another topic. But it's always interesting how, quote unquote, these proud, patriotic Americans always point at how many people want to get into America, without telling the full story.
That's it. Context matters.
Context matters. So not only is America involved in those governments, not only that, but they're not even taking any kind of responsibility in terms of what happens after the fact.
That's right.
And this is the after the fact. The after the fact, the consequence of interfering with these governments, the consequences of being in their business is causing people to leave and come here. And it's like a weird ego stroker. It's like, but look at all these people who want to come here. It's like, yes, America looks great when you come from a third world country.
Right.
Yes, America looks great when you're fleeing murder, death,
brutality,
gangs, all of that. So it's like for the longest, this is just their version of how they would show those snippets of the poorest parts of Africa and then use that as an example of a third world country.
Fly on the face,
how America is so great. And it's like, no, you're only great to countries that are fucked up.
Well,
you fucked up. Let's be clear.
That they would show. So that's the point I'm about to make. They would show these African countries, right? And number one, there was a money aspect to it. So you would have these nonprofits raising money, and we know that the majority of that money did not flow through to the places that they said they were going. I think in the nonprofit world, there's a certain percentage of every dollar that has to flow through, and it's not a high percentage.
It's not high.
Let's say that. So, but the other thing that America would not show in those commercials was how we were aiding in keeping certain African nations poor because of our willingness to go over there and literally strip them of minerals and things that we wanted for our stuff. And it wasn't just America, it was Western nations to begin with.
Nations.
And so the places that y'all are showing, like these villages, right, where they're like child workers working in mines and shit, you don't want to say that there are your companies over there running these mines and having these kids working and starving. And so it's the same thing that we're seeing with these South American countries. And I got to give a shout out of course, to Mexico, because they've been calling our asses out for years now, and I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the boldness of like, let's be clear about the fentanyl and the gun problems and the cartel problems. Like, America has driven all of that. And there are Mexican leaders that have said it flat out in interviews, like America cannot just act like they have not played a role in ensuring that these guns are getting across the border.
The majority of them guns are Russian, American made.
Like, remember when Haiti called us out and was like, y'all are talking about these armed gangs. Who armed them? Because Haiti doesn't have any ammunition manufacturing facilities. Haiti, there was a woman, I think she teaches at Harvard. She's Haitian American. And she was like, I want to be clear as to America's role in this. Not only have y'all installed this puppet de facto prime minister, Ariel Henry, but also these gangs that you talk about are resistance groups. And the reasons they're even armed in the first place is because y'all flow your guns from your borders into ours like water. And shout out to them for calling us out.
That's real. My last point, to that point, 2 parts. Number one, we think about Sudan, what's happening in Sudan right now. The Sudanese, those two warring entities, they're supported by different groups. America supporting one side. We have Russia supporting one side. We have different countries pouring weapons into that. So that's a conflict that's happening right now that proves our point.
Another proxy war, yep.
My last point, I'm putting my conspiracy hat on, which, again, as you all know, it's a conspiracy. It's not true. We don't know. But if I was a gambling man, there might be some kind of. I would actually argue that America, directly or indirectly, is responsible for the destabilization of those smaller towns within Mexico. I think that they're directly connected to those cartels. I think the CIA is directly connected to them. Why? Iran-Contra. America has a history of arming these militant drug groups. It's already been proven. So, conspiracy hat on, I wouldn't be surprised
if we start at the Houthis and work our way on.
I would not be surprised if these cartels are working directly or indirectly with the CIA, with our government. So this is,
I will add to that conspiracy and say when the prime minister in Haiti was killed, the president was killed. Remember, a
few of the people who did it.
What did they find out?
They found out that a few of them were American. A few of them were from where? I know from some other country.
Yeah, but we trained with them.
But yeah, it was And
apparently somebody yelled out CIA upon entry into the presidential palace. So I'm gonna just go on and say, if they are meeting us at our front door, it's because we invited them to come. And
I think Mexico is like, we can't say this outright. Like, they can't say this outright.
Yeah.
So going on to our second topic, we have we're gonna switch it up. Since we're on Mexico, historically, there's been a historic election that happened in Mexico. Mexico just elected their first woman president.
Beautiful.
Claudia Sheinbaum. So her background is this. Her family, she's Jewish. Her family fled the Holocaust and came to Mexico. During like World War II, during the Holocaust. And she's been there for generations. So I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw the last name, I was like,
same.
This is European.
Yeah.
How did this shit happen? And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I in my mind, I thought it was German. I thought it was like a German name. So in my mind, I was like, you know what I'm saying?
Covert
did these
operation.
motherfuckers? Yeah, basically, I was like, did these motherfuckers leave? Because let's be clear, there were a lot of Nazis who left Germany and found homes in America, in Argentina, all through South America.
Yep.
So
did very well for themselves.
And did very well.
Yeah.
Did very well for themselves. So, but she's Jewish, which was interesting because, again, out of the entire population, I think they said they have 50,000 Jewish people who live in Mexico. So that was an interesting point. But from my research of her background, liberal, non-religious. Now, what I have not found is I don't know her stance on what's happening in Israel right now.
So
that's the only thing that I
was looking it up
unsure.
too. I think she's kind of been keeping it under wraps on purpose, probably. Because I tried to find like if she had made a comment or something.
Yeah, that's the thing that I want to know, because in my mind, let's be clear here, y'all. The Republican side, they are very anti-Semitic, for sure. A lot of them, anytime when they use the George Soros take, that in itself is anti-Semitic. And if you don't know who George Soros is, I mean, he could. George Soros has been he's a billionaire, but he's given philanthropy. He's given a lot to liberal groups, to liberal causes, to left-leaning causes. So when Republicans talk about when they're on their conspiracy theory shit, a lot of times they like to use him as like the boogeyman. Right. Again, it's very near to Nazi propaganda, to be honest with you. That's a lot of times that's what it sounds like when they're referring to him. So my overall point is that there have been liberal Jewish people who are closet Zionists. Am I saying Claudia is? I don't know. I don't know.
I still can't find anything about her stance.
Yeah. I think I don't know. This is something that we're gonna look into, because I wanna make this conversation about how we do have liberal Jewish people who are in higher positions, who work with Black people, who have actually contributed, who've contributed to our causes, to Black causes, for sure. But there have also been groups of them who have taken full advantage of what's going on in our communities. So this is just one of those things where it's like, at this day and time, we need to know what you own. Like, as a group who is thoughtful of, like, Palestine, who's thoughtful of just settler colonialism in general. We all know that it always starts with policy. And again, it's not even about them using, it's not even about them using religious texts to justify what they do, because we all know that that's just a front. Zionism is that's the front of Zionism, saying that God gave them this land. Right. Therefore, as a result, they can kill and murder and displace a bunch of people. So yeah, it's just one of those things. As Black people, we always ask, are you a friend or a foe? And so in her case, on paper, so far, she was the mayor of Mexico City, and she's well loved. I'm trying to think, the former president of Mexico, who was a legit leader, someone who responded back to Trump and told him that we're not building that fucking wall. So yeah. So let's be clear.
Twitter was hot back then.
Yeah. So the former president is someone who I respect, and he's highly endorsed her. So we're just gonna see how it plays out.
Okay, hold on. We may have found something. The Jewish Times, which sometimes you just kind of gotta go. Yeah. So number one, the whole article is about how she pretty much, a lot of people didn't know she was Jewish while she was campaigning. They're accusing her of hiding her
Jewish heritage.
Her heritage. They went on to talk about how she was born to two Jewish parents, blah, blah, blah. And it said she previously invoked her Jewish identity in advocating for Palestine. In a letter to a popular Mexican newspaper in 2009, she wrote, 2009, I'm here for it. She wrote that, quote, due to my Jewish origins, my love for Mexico, and the feeling that I'm a citizen of the world, I can only watch with horror the images of bombing of Gaza by the Israeli state. So it says, nonetheless, for the Jewish population in Mexico, her win will be significant. A Jewish scholar. Da, da, da. So they're pretty much talking about like how for the Jewish population in Mexico, they kind of feel like, oh, why isn't she more proud of her heritage? They feel like she's hiding in plain sight. And they had a couple people who quoted who are citizens of Mexico who said, I didn't even know she was Jewish. I don't know how, looking at her last name, but okay, sure. Well, she is married, so maybe she didn't use her last name too much early on. But yeah, it sounds like that she's spoken out early. And I mean, we're talking more than 10 years ago here, almost 15 years ago.
You know what?
She specifically mentioned, and this is what we was trying to tell y'all, this didn't start on October 7th. This has been going on for 87 years now.
For years.
I believe. So in 2009, this woman was quoted in a Mexican newspaper saying that, yes, I am Jewish, but at the same time, what's going on in Gaza by the hands of the Israeli state is some bullshit. So
we are now, we now support.
I'm a fuck, right?
We support.
She's an energy engineer.
Mm-hmm.
She came to politics later in life. She was a scientist. I know she did some work in California on like energy engineering, going into Mexico. So yeah, I can appreciate that. Like she has a science mind before a religious mind.
We love that.
I can appreciate that.
We love that.
And yeah, I'm really excited to see what she's gonna do. Like the president-elect, and it was, by the way, it was between two women. The election came down to, and both of them are engineers, if I'm not mistaken. The other one who was running is an engineer as well.
See, look, this is interesting because I think when how we talked about how America used its media to like make these countries look bad. Mm-hmm. Mexico, in my mind, growing up, and I'm half Mexican, was not painted as a place, as a good place.
Specifically where women could thrive.
Even that part. Because femicide is a real thing. That's why I actually first learned the term, because there are a lot of women who've been sexually assaulted and murdered in Mexico. Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's like, now it makes me think, with the point that you just made, and this is my last point, that Mexico has been growing and doing its thing in spite of. And even when I talk to my cousins about Mexico, like they love it. They go back all the time. All my family members go back.
I was going to say.
All the time.
So I talked to Glow about it yesterday. I was with Glow. Glow is his cousin. I work with his cousin. And one thing that she was telling me about is at the rallies, like the actual election rallies, there were certain citizens who were kicking members of the media out. There were certain members of the media that were being kicked out of like these rallies and these celebrations, because they were saying that specifically their coverage to America about the election was kind of dampered. And so the thought is that there were certain ways that like CNN or Telemundo or whatever did not cover it because they didn't want America to start thinking, oh, wait, they're getting a female president. Why can't we do the same? And I thought that was a very interesting take, because the last time we had a woman running, right, it was all about her emotions and her feelings. And what if she's on her period? And can we give her the nuke codes and her emails? And here is Mexico saying like, none of that. These are two incredibly talented women who are more than capable of running this country. And we are going to cover them as such. And so apparently like there were certain outlets that were literally getting kicked out by citizens, not policing entities in Mexico,
and I'm glad.
By citizens who were saying, no, because we don't like the way you have covered this election of these two women. And so it's nice to see like Mexican men and women getting behind their leadership and saying like, no, we're not going to paint them the way America paints women in leadership. We're going to let them have like their stage. And I really appreciated that. Even as a member of the media, I appreciated the people being like, no, because your coverage is bullshit and you can't be here.
Because let's be clear. We all are aware, if anything, America is the king of using media for the sake of clickbait, for the sake of hits. Yep. Like we monetize the media in a way that other countries do not, because they know that if we do choose to monetize it, what's going to come of it.
That's it.
And America's totally okay with that. And I'm glad that Mexico is choosing to go a different direction.
Yeah. Your cousin
Viva.
invited me to go live there too if things go awry. So I may be your neighbor.
You may come down. We do have family. I do have family still out there.
Yeah,
we do still own land out there.
She said I could have me like a little 1,500 square foot cute
Yeah, you
little
can-
something
yeah,
on
yeah.
the console. Hey cousin, I already got the invite.
Let me find out you coming to Nuevo Leon with us.
I'm coming with family.
I'm letting you know right now.
They're like,
Mel will be.
who she
Mel will
belong
be.
to, y'all?
Yeah. Well, they gonna see me. They gonna automatically think. They gonna think she. They gonna
My
like,
grandma on her way and she can cook. She can
yeah,
cook.
I'm like,
baby.
yeah, I was like, yeah, we gonna set them up. We gonna set them up in one of the houses.
We good
you
to
know what
go.
I'm saying? One of the spots.
Yeah, they got
you know
a
what
whole
I'm saying?
compound down there.
Yeah, I'm gonna show her, around. Be like,
We on our way.
yeah.
We on our way. She shouldn't have invited me. I said, you making a mistake.
Trust me.
Because I will pack it up. My
Look.
dogs will be Mexican, barking Spanish.
Barking Spanish.
Let me see. All right. So Trump, you want to do Trump or
We can go. Yeah,
US?
we can go ahead. We can go there.
That's gonna be quick. He guilty.
All right, y'all.
Was there any question?
There was not any question that he was guilty, but I also think what is interesting about that is, first of all, some of the details. I read some of the details. I don't think I should even. I wouldn't want to like repeat some of the stuff
From
that he
whose
was
testimony?
into from Stormy.
Stormy, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
It was some nasty
Yeah.
shit that he was into.
Just give us one. What's your favorite?
Some freaky deaky shit. He definitely liked to get spanked. He liked to get spanked, or he was spanked. It was another like, but I didn't. It was like a word that I'd never heard before. But it was like a sexual. It's a sexual thing. It's like a kink thing.
Okay.
So yeah. So Donald Trump was in some freaky. He a freaky one.
But that's not the first time we heard it. Like, remember that like something had been leaked from like overseas.
By him peeing on somebody
Yeah,
or getting peed on.
Like he was
Yeah.
in the golden showers. and
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah. So y'all, so he's guilty. I think the other part about it too is not only just the details of it. It's the response. This is the party of law and order.
Mhm.
The party of law and order. Now this same part is going to go into our next segment as well. They are upset that he was found guilty.
Right.
They are still continuing to use verbiage that undermines our judicial system. Now, let's be clear. Our judicial system is full of shit.
Mhm.
Our judicial system is broken. There are a lot of problems, for sure. But one thing we'll say for sure, one thing we can say for sure, if we see, or when I see someone who has the privilege and the money to afford the lawyers, all these things,
Mhm.
and they still get found guilty, they can afford to even pay off people, like people that big, and they still get found guilty. That means you were guilty.
Yeah.
Because we all know that in times like that, they will look for a reason to find a hole in it.
Mhm.
It's complicated, or shit. We're thinking about the shit that's happening with Ken Paxton right now.
Yeah.
How he got out of that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, those leaders take full advantage of their privilege, and they don't get anything from it. Like, they don't get any convictions from it. And it's just interesting because it's like, yeah, he did all that.
But I mean, Trump said it, and I hate to admit it, but he was telling the truth. Remember, like, he was caught on a hot mic pretty much saying, like, number one, he could grab women by the pussy and he'd be fine because he has money. But number two, he was like, I could go down on Park Ave and, like, shoot somebody and they would still elect me.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that thinking, like, damn, like, is it that bad? Do these people believe in him that much?
It is that deep.
Now?
It is absolutely that deep.
Yeah.
And it goes to show, like, you may be moving to Mexico sooner than what you think, because what I see is it's an unraveling, because if he ends up becoming the president, he already said he's going to be the dictator for a day.
Mhm.
He's already mentioned completely cutting, like, the Constitution.
Yeah.
Just completely just wiping his ass with it. And it's interesting because Charlemagne the God was on an interview with some I think he was on Fox News, but it was like some political pundit, and And Charlemagne brought that point up, the Constitution, the what he said about the Constitution. And I learned that is another tactic of the right. What they do is they just like, I didn't hear that. I didn't say that.
Oh yeah.
Or I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess that's how they get away with shit. Because they never come back to it and be like, you know what? There's never any like real productive like an after conversation to say, hey, you know what? I researched what you said and you were right. He did say that. And so again, all of this is just going to make America even less and less appealing and more. It's funny because they were like, what are we, a banana republic? What are we, a shit? Somebody was like, now we're officially a shithole country because we found Trump guilty.
That's what it took?
I guess.
That's what it took.
I'm like.
Not babies being shot at school.
Not babies being shot at school. That's not what makes us a shithole country. Not the poverty rates. Yeah. Not the
whole industry's collapsing, planes falling out of skies.
Health industry is fucked up. People are going bankrupt, just trying to take care of themselves.
We got cancer at 20 now.
But
none of that made us shithole.
But no. But a man who paid a porn star, again, it's all fact. It's all been proven. A man who paid a porn star with his campaign money to keep her quiet. They found out that he did it and they put a stamp on it and said that he did it. Now we're a shithole country.
That's what did it.
Y'all. This is what I'm saying. That these ideologies that we're dealing with, those are, first of all, those people are in mass. There's a lot of people who think like that.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me think that, you know what, you might be coming to Mexico a little sooner.
I have honestly it's
because
funny
they are totally okay with
Glow will like half of our conversations will be in Spanish now. She's like, I got to get your Spanish up.
Yeah, you got to get the Spanish
I can tell she's very serious about
this. She's serious. Me and her talked about it, yeah.
I'm like, wow. Like her and Jeffrey literally will force me like in conversation. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. America's the only country I've ever known. I have to love it to a certain extent. But I am not going to be a sitting duck in a place that is becoming more and more hostile to people like me.
And let's be clear, we're talking about this because we know that America is more than willing to elect a criminal. Again, there are different kinds of criminals. Let's be clear. There are people who were criminalized because, you know, they led the sit-ins. They helped break down segregation. They protested, and by the eyes of the law, they're criminals.
Martin Luther King was a criminal.
Martin Luther King was a criminal. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's a saying that says that if your heroes weren't on the FBI wanted list, then your heroes might not have been.
Think again.
I don't know what the fuck they was on.
I saw something the other day that said one day when it's no longer of like personal danger to call a thing what it is, everyone will say that they always knew this was wrong and that they were.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've literally been thinking about that with this, more so with the Israel thing, but even with Trump, right? Like, I'm like, one day, because y'all know in your something in your gut has to be telling you like
that this shit ain't right.
But because it aligns with how you think you're going to get ahead in this country, and it usually comes at the expense of shitting on other groups, you're more than willing to look the other way. But one day it's gonna come. Like I had somebody who didn't give a shit for months put a watermelon on their story this morning, and I just looked at her. I was like, imagine that.
I mean, I'm glad Johnny come lately. So y'all, we're just saying that this we knew he's guilty. The thing is, what we're learning now more. My final point on this is what we knew he was guilty. We knew he's full of shit. It's just what this shows us is that America, the masses of people, are totally okay with someone being a full-on dictator. Because that's what that's what he said. He's talked about, he stoked violence. He says, if I go to jail, there's going to be paraphrasing, there's going to be a response. And I don't think he was talking about a peaceful protest. Right. I don't think that's what last time he brought people together who were angry. They almost burned down
the Capitol.
And
the Proud Boys are back. Reuters did a really good investigative piece on them 2 days ago where they are rebuilding and rebranding. And remember, he told them to stand back and stand by. And they have done just that.
Well, the other part about that, too, is this. We all know that is their first line of offense. Mm-hmm. They're going to use the quote unquote common citizen. They're going to use these militia groups. They're going to use all those people. In the instant when we fight back against them, guess who they sending? The police, the military.
National Guard will be right all front and center.
Trying to quell the violence, even though they're totally okay with them being the way that they've been. So,
yeah.
All right, y'all.
Speaking of law and order.
Speaking of law and order.
Y'all's government.
I'm gonna say this, y'all. This is interesting for a few different reasons. So we already pointed out the fact that one of the leading prosecutors on the ICC was threatened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're
talking about the black lady, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
South African woman.
Yep.
She was threatened. They told her that this would be we wouldn't want to compromise the safety of your family.
Of you and your family, yeah. You wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of things, really.
So we have a country that is showing us that not only are they willing to pay to murder, because they're paying America, let's be clear, they're paying America. They're paying American officials, but they're also willing to threaten. Mm-hmm. So they have no jurisdiction over the ICC. So they're now using scare tactics to get what they want. And as a result, one thing, let me say this. I respect the ICC because they've issued arrest warrants for members of the leaders of Hamas, and Netanyahu,
Putin a couple years ago.
Yeah. So the thing that we're looking at right now is how America is responding. So Chip Roy just introduced a bill and it got full Republican support, some Democrats. And that bill is in a sense to delegitimize the ICC. I want to say it was either Bernie Sanders or somebody else who spoke out against this because they basically said that if we do this, then what the ICC does for other countries is going to affect them too.
That's it.
I just find it interesting. Again, it is the lengths that they are going to. Mm-hmm. How much money are these people getting paid? How much? Because again, we already had legislation go out that they want to make it illegal to even boycott anything Israel.
Right. Anti-BDS laws. So I did a little digging just into a representative, Mark Vesey. He was here in Dallas last week, and he did a coffee with a congressman at Soiree, our friends over at Soiree Coffee.
Yeah. So
I went over there, honestly, because I just wanted to write about it from afar, right? Like anything that his constituents asked or whatever. So as I'm sitting there, I'm with another journalist, and all of a sudden I hear, what did they say? Like, stop the genocide or ceasefire now or something like that.
Oh, so there were protesters there?
One guy came and sat at the table with me. This is before Michaela, the other journalist, got here. So I'm sitting on one side of the table. He just comes sit down. He was like, hey. And he was telling me about, protests and stuff, education sessions they're going to have over the weekend. I'm not realizing he's a protester. I'm just thinking he's a constituent who's handing out things, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you for sharing with me. So I had told him that I had recently looked and saw that General Dynamics had opened up a plant in Mesquite and that they kept it kind of on the low, and that they actually, when the PR announcement came out, they failed to mention that General Dynamics actually creates the artillery shelling, for the fighter jets that Israel uses. It was all about Ukraine, the press release. And I was like, that's really interesting, but maybe they just didn't want any protesters to show up to the ribbon cutting, right? Cool. So he walks away. I'm working on my story. All of a sudden, I hear ceasefire now. I see Mark Vesey, who, by the way, y'all, is a U.S. House of Representatives. He has District 33, which is Dallas, but like the west side of Dallas. So he is the peer of Jasmine Crockett, bleach blonde, bad built butch body, right?
Shout out to
Jasmine. So he starts talking about, you guys are interrupting me. I'm trying to talk, blah, blah, blah. Protesters are not letting up. They're not letting up at all.
As they should.
And they asked him, they were like, we've asked you as your constituents to support a ceasefire. Mm-hmm. And here's why. We have testimonies from doctors who live in Dallas, who were over in Gaza. This is what they've seen. They've also supported this. Your constituents want a ceasefire. Instead of doing that, you've taken money that should go to the Black and brown children in our community and giving it to Israel. After talking about an intricate system of tunnels and,
That's what his response was?
Oh, yeah. Hamas used the money the Qataris gave them to build tunnels and missiles instead of. Did you see the video? I put it on my Instagram.
I know about that one, but it's just I hate that they do that, but they fail to mention that Netanyahu and the Israel state funded Hamas as well.
Thank you. So he's talking. He's all these points, right? All these points. There were mass rapes on October 7th, and and so finally, the guy who had asked him the question, the same guy who sat across from me, right, was like, "You're still not answering the question, sir. Will you support a ceasefire?" He says, "I will not support a ceasefire because I don't want to strengthen the hand of Hamas." That made me go to my desk when I got home and start looking at his most recent endorsements. And sure enough.
What did you find?
Sure enough, his most recent endorsement.
We need this clip.
Came from Jewish lobbying groups, which means he is absolutely receiving AIPAC money. Even if it's being funneled through to different smaller PACs, it is all tied back to make sure that he says, number one, the script, because the talking points was on point. I was like, damn, he studied that shit. And the second thing is that he will not support a ceasefire, and that he will continue to support any bill, any package that comes up for more Israeli foreign aid and military aid. And so it just goes to show, yes, y'all are bought and paid for. And you are actually not representing your constituents, because if your constituents are sitting in a room and they're literally hemming you up at the Pride Parade, I'm talking to you, Adam Balzadua. They're literally hemming you up as you're on the float at the Pride Parade, and you still will not support what your constituents want. That is literally taxation without representation, and that is everything that we're not supposed to be about.
Okay, so it's a lot. Number one, at the Pride Parade, one thing I had someone talk to me and they basically said that within the community, they're trying to figure that out too, in terms of, yes, we have pride, yes, we have all this going on, but there are a lot of people who are pro-Israel, who are gay and pro-Israel.
They're gay Jews.
And also there are people who, of course, who are on the left who want a ceasefire. But now that the conversation was more about like how pride has now become more commercialized, and now, they're getting money from these companies, from these, and some of those sponsors are questionable. Some of those sponsors are on that side. So it's like
Boeing was there, Raytheon was there, Airbus was there.
So y'all,
I could point out Starbucks was there.
I find it funny because they always talk about how like Antifa and all these groups that are infiltrating, and it's like, no. These are the real infiltrators.
Well, first of all, who's sponsoring Antifa? Because I've yet to see any of that money flow. We know where AIPAC money goes, though.
We know, like we can trace it.
Yeah,
we can trace it.
So y'all, this phantom thing you have us chasing in Antifa and all this other stuff, like when y'all shit is hardcore, like we know that there's actual money being transitioned and transferred to make sure that these representatives vote or do not vote a certain way.
It's the finesse, in the words of the great philosopher, finesse 2 times. From the perspective of Zionist Israel state supporters, it's cool when we do it, but it's a problem when y'all do it. Fuck it. We're going to still do it because we can.
Yeah. And so with the pride thing, the last point I'll make, I had somebody, his name is, I probably shouldn't tell his name, but he's pretty much a representative of GLAAD. And he lives here in Dallas. And so he walked up to me. I was over at Mocha working. And was like, hey, I got an interesting story. And it was pretty much what you were just talking about, how there is now a split. And like kind of these factions in the community where you have people who are now protesting Dallas Pride in particular because of some of the sponsorship.
Yeah.
And so he was like, you have people who are asking folks to sit out Dallas Pride this year because of the sponsors. Now, he didn't tell me who the sponsors were, but when I on purpose went to Pride during the, not just a parade, but the actual like festival that they have. And they had like all these boards with all the gold, bronze, silver, and then the platinum sponsors, right? And it did not take long to start understanding why people was just like, oh, y'all taking money from them and from them. And got it. And guess who was the platinum sponsor this year?
Who?
Good old Starbucks.
Good old Starbucks. Trying to get back in good. Look at that.
The same old folks who, remember, shut down and fired people that were part of a union because they came out on their social media with a pro-Palestinian stance.
So, yeah, Starbucks has been shitty in both of those areas, unionizing and being pro-Israel.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised. So yeah, Mark Vesey, we don't fuck with you. Let's be clear. You're paid for. There are a few other people we don't fuck with. They're paid for. Because I'm just to be honest with you, like, it is my last point. Bringing it back to ICC. There's going to come a time when, and I hope that this doesn't happen, but there's going to come a time when there will be no one to hold anyone accountable. Why? Because we're going to America, Israel, those entities are going to make sure that they are gutted. Yeah. Because again, we can look at what they've done to Black people. We can look at what they've done historically to us. Those companies and those businesses that were supportive of us, that were supportive of integration, they were defunded. They were. Yeah. We've had a history of lawyers, history of business owners, of people who have tried to be on the right side of history, and as a result, they were attacked. Look at these college students, right, who came out as pro-Palestinian, and you had company heads, CEOs saying, I will not hire any student graduating that stands on this side of this issue. And so imagine the generation of lawyers and doctors and accountants and financial advisors and all these things these kids have gone to school for. Their careers have literally just been stifled or potentially taken from them because they took a stance on an issue. When you leave college, right, the first thing you think about is like, damn, I'm gonna be able to like start my career now. Like that's what's on your mind. And you have kids who put their graduation, some of these degrees are being withheld from being conferred from these kids. And then you had whole CEOs who are so pro-Israel that they have told career mentors on college campuses, like, I will not be hiring any student that's part of a pro-Palestinian group that was at a rally that can be pictured. And the same way they cut out affirmative action, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, she actually talked about it. She was like, when you do that, you are literally ruining the opportunity for representation in certain fields that we need representation. What happens now when that Black boy can't get into undergrad and then go to Howard's medical school? And so now you are lacking one doctor, right, that could represent Black men in this field. We're going to see the same thing with these companies shutting down the careers and the livelihoods of these kids. And now we are potentially creating a gap for pro-Palestinian, pro-Black, pro-LGBTQ people in these fields and in these professions. Right. And they're going to be replaced with people who think like the people at the top. Because that's who they're going to hire. That's who they're going to hire. It's sad. So y'all, I mean, that's the point right there. I got nothing. All right, what we got something fun, I think. All right. Last but not least, y'all. Yeah. So their last topic, of course, you know, we like to stir it up, just have a little fun. So there has been a lot of social media back and forth, specifically about roles. So we're gonna call this last part the new age aunties and uncles. That's it. That's what we are. We are now in our 30s, mid to late 30s. Some of us early 30s. And it is now our responsibility to carry forth the traditions of the future. So I'm going to go out on a limb and talk about men in our place. Now, let's be clear here. The Green Route podcast does not endorse any general ideas of generalization. We don't believe in gender roles, that just because you are a woman or a man or anything that you are supposed to be doing X responsibility. So let's be clear there.
Marlissa does believe that if it's a man around and the trash needs to be taken out, why would I take it out? You sitting right there. Get the trash.
First of all, baby girl, I was finishing up my
plate.
My plate. I was finishing up
after you finish.
After I finish my plate. After I finish my plate, I'm gonna get to it. You know, if you want to get done faster, you got two hands.
I'm not saying get it done faster, but one thing I can't stand is see a bunch of men sitting around, and I'm like, so they putting up the tent. Y'all not gonna help at all?
You know what? Let's talk about this, because you know what I don't like seeing?
What?
When women do have a good man and you can't make that man a plate. First of all, if you invite this man to your house, you invite this man to be with your family.
Okay.
And he's there. It is not his place to go in there and make a play. He don't know these people, and that's just courtesy.
If he knew,
I'm just talking courtesy now.
If he's new,
no, I'm not talking about him being new. I'm talking about
like y'all married with kids.
I'm talking about this is your family. This is your group, because yes, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. I believe that if you are with someone and you are on their side of, and even vice versa. So if I invite my partner over to any kind of event with my family, I'm gonna take care of them. But again, I'm not thinking in terms of gender roles. I just hate that we get caught up with this when it comes. We just usually get caught up in this conversation when it comes to women. Here's my thing with the plate making. Right? Talk about it.
Me, it's familiarity.
Right.
So if it's my first time around your family, I would expect you to be like, "Hey, babe, let's go." Like, okay, cool. Like, kind of walk me around, right? But after a while, and especially in my family, like this is how we are. If you've been around enough, like, get in there and make you a plate. And so here's my thing. Even with a partner, right? If I'm familiar enough with the family, your plate might not come first. I'm gonna make sure grandma and grandpa taken care of. I'm gonna make sure the kids got plates. So for me, I'm more hands-on with families that I'm familiar with, and it's like the elders need to be served, the kids need to be taken care of. Like, and so even if a partner's in the room, those things you're usually come.
So there's a hierarchy.
Is there not? In Black families, I know for a fact there's a hierarchy.
It is.
My grandma gonna get her plate. My granddaddy gonna get his plate. Anybody sick? I want
to stir the pot and say, "Is your grandma gonna drive you home? Is your what?" No, I'm just
no. But first of all, we at my grandma's house.
I'm joking, y'all. Let me be clear. I'm fucking with Mel. I want to be that person because I know how they think. I want to say it. It's not how I think, but I want to say it.
So you want your plate before the elders and before the kids?
I want my plate first.
Oh, see, you wanted them.
As soon as as soon as it's time, I need that. I'm not serious, y'all. I'm not serious. I'm just talking shit.
So on TikTok, that was a whole thing. Like a man was like, that boy eating before me. And
let me give you my real perspective on it. I genuinely do think that, and maybe this is just how I was raised, in terms of, because I come from I'm part of two different cultures. So for sure, it's patriarchal or matriarchal for a woman to serve their man. I've just tweaked it a little bit in my mind, and I do sincerely believe that depending on what space you in, like, I think that, again, if I invite my partner over and we're around my family, I'm gonna take her. She ain't got to get up. All she got to do is just be there, and I'm gonna take her. Make sure she wants some drink. Hey, can you pass me a Sprite? Or I'm gonna take care of it. I just generally believe that when you at the other person's space within their family, you got to take care of them. I'm gonna be honest. I don't want my partner to be like, "Oh yeah, go ahead," and then she got to go in there and open, because I don't want nobody being like, "Why is she opening up motherfucking?"
But that's where familiarity comes in for me.
Let's be clear. Yes, familiarity is a part of that, but at the same time, everybody ain't familiar with your partner. Everybody don't know. Like, you want to just assume that everybody's gonna be cool. Oh, that's such and such's partner, a girlfriend, a boyfriend.
See, but I'm not even thinking about it. I'm
thinking about it like that.
I'm thinking about it. We've been together so long that literally you are family now.
If we talking like 10 years in the game, okay.
I'm talking about, so that's what I thought, like, so that's where the breaking point comes from me. If everybody in the family don't know you, I'm not gonna have you running around their house looking for, but if you've been around so long that you are not an in-law anymore, you are just family, and my grandma, hey, go in there and get me my blah, 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 my room, like, then you are family.
Okay, so this is where me and Mel gonna disagree, because I'm gonna think it's like, I think it's like this forever. I don't care how well you know my family, I don't know, I'm gonna always take care of you, come to our space, and we don't agree to disagree on that. I got another controversial summer auntie uncle question. Do kids eat ribs?
Not in my family.
That was a topic. That was a real topic.
So no, for the kids, there were burgers, hot dogs, maybe links, maybe. You can maybe have a piece of chicken, right? But ribs, pork or beef, steak, no, that's for the adults.
So we agree on that one. We agree on that one. Okay. Because I genuinely believe that, their palate isn't even, I might give them a
yeah, but say if that's your baby or your little
bite. Here, taste this rib, right. Taste this whatever.
But I bet not see no kid walking around with a plate full of ribs. Like I'm like, who made that plate for you?
Who made that plate? Right. Damn. But yeah, y'all. So we've been talking about like roles and stuff, and you know what? Like I said, I feel like a lot of men we've been getting slack. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us ain't got no barbecue sandals. We ain't got the open toe sandals to really get down there, and we ain't really doing it. And this is a call to action. All my men, I want you to stand up and say, I'm not barbecuing. I'm not doing that shit. I'm not.
Unless I have sandals.
Because I can buy it.
Okay. Whoa. Okay,
look, brothers, we are now in a space to where we are doing better for ourselves. We don't have to be under the thumb.
But what about your pride? Don't you want me to look over the grill and be like, yo, you doing that? Can I taste some?
I'm gonna be honest with you. We're the new generation of men. We're not pleased by your words.
No,
we're not pleased by your words. We're not.
Ladies, now, they caught on to us. God,
we're not pleased. Y'all be trying to stroke our ego and shit, and then we're better than that. So
don't go buying me no barbecue. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a fill away.
All right. Let's compromise. Let's find the middle ground.
You can buy the coleslaw or the potato salad and doctor it up.
But don't. Okay. So that's a question. Would that make you less attracted to him if he bought it? Yeah. Okay. Let's be real. All right. Yeah. All right.
So I'm one. I like the process. I like seeing that you have a process, because that means that shit was passed down from somewhere. So I really appreciate that. Valid point. You know how to start a grill. You know how to make sure like the meat is tender, which means even that's a process, right? You use beer, you use Coca-Cola, you use like what's up. So for me, I actually really enjoy watching people cook, because I'm like, I pick up stuff, number one. But also, I feel like these are things that have been passed down culturally. And I like the fact that you've picked up on it.
So I was disagreeing with Mel. So now I'm going to change I've changed my opinion. I've changed my perspective. I think you're right. I never thought about it from the perspective of how you all see men in a sense to where like, oh, it shows that there is some kind of lineage. And I do believe, generally speaking, that we as men, as the adults, as the uncles now, we have to carry on tradition. So, it took a little convincing. But my new PSA, brothers, let's buy a grill. Invest into a grill. It ain't got to be a big one. Start small. Learn about marinade. Learn about, how to smoke some shit. Now, I'm not just talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself, because I have always prided myself of being the jack of all trades. I feel like I can do a lot of stuff. I can, because I can. But barbecuing was one of those things. When I saw that tweet, I took it personal, because I don't know how to barbecue. I never, like, of course I had uncles who would be on the grill. I had folks who, around me but I never picked up on it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say that this summer will be the first summer that I will be doing it.
I love it.
Now, let's be clear. If it tastes like shit at first, I'm definitely going to buy. So you just gotta accept that. But I think that
Who you gonna learn from? So I think that's the other thing.
Well, YouTube University. Let's be clear. But actually, to be honest with you, I have a cousin of mine who he should really have his own spot. But he's amazing at all of it. So that's what I'm gonna have to do. I'm gonna have to become an intern.
So yeah, my sister really taught me how to grill. Like,
hold on, before can I backtrack for a second, real quick? Sure. Now, fellas, brothers, we will agree that we're going to take on the mantle of learning how to barbecue, learning how to smoke some ribs. Now we need our better halves, because let's be clear here.
We got sides.
We're not the only ones who don't know how to do shit.
We got sides.
I'm not talking about that part. I'm saying the fact that a lot of y'all don't know how to cook sides.
Who is a lot of y'all? Because
let's be clear.
I got a handful of homegirls who don't know how to cook, and I be looking at them sideways.
But that's my point.
Now they the ones that bring liquor, and I could probably call some, but I don't want to out them right now. Alicia, I'm talking to you.
Wow.
And Alicia knows she don't know how to cook. I just need to get my baby out of that Chick-fil-A line. But here's the thing. I do feel like if men was just like, yo, I got the meat, don't worry about it, I'm on this. Baked beans, and you know how we barbecue at my house.
Yes.
So sides taken care of. Hell, the snacks for after all of us smoke and want something new, taken care of. So yeah, I do agree that it has to be a team effort. And for me, I don't have a problem, especially if Gabe came over and was like, I'm taking care of all the meat, not a problem. Okay. Let's look at what sides we gonna have, because the thing is, depending on how much meat you cook, you got to have enough sides to go with it.
That's a fact.
So you can't just do baked beans and potato salad. No, you probably got to have some mac and cheese in that hole, because kids going to eat that up too. That's one thing I will put on their plate. You got to have some desserts. Somebody got to do desserts. You got to have stuff that the kids can snack on while the food is getting ready. So for me, it really is a team effort. And that's why I do agree with, we're the new uncles and aunties. Everybody has to be involved. And if you and Alicia and you can't cook, then
strays.
But she knows she can't.
Look, it's love now. All love.
We love you. We do. I'm gonna just teach you to cook something at some point. But the thing is, people still got to bring bottles, and you got to have juice for the kids. Because now we're at the age, y'all, where it's like, who's bringing juice for the kids? What the hell? At what point do we have?
We done crossed over.
We officially got to have stuff for the kids in the cooler now.
I be drinking them Capri Suns. I be drinking them, but I can't drink them no more because they need them.
This is why we got to have stuff for the kids.
All right.
Right. So yeah, I mean, for me, I think we need both refrigerators full, because if you don't have a little refrigerator in your garage at this point, I'm not really sure how you having a barbecue. You got to have enough coolers, or you got to have homies that got coolers that they can bring over. You got to have a tent now, because it's too hot in Texas not to have one. You gotta have a good yard person that can come cut the lawn.
Gotta have it together.
You know what I mean?
So we're now thinking about all. So I'm glad we're thinking about the complete picture.
It gotta be a package. Yeah.
So let's be clear here. What we're agreeing on is that men are going to become better at the barbecue part, and generally speaking, our women. And let's be clear, our non-binary family. You may fall in where you fall in.
Get in where you fit in.
Wherever you choose to go. I am speaking from a place of privilege as a hetero male, a cis hetero male.
Yes.
And speaking for other straight black men, we will be responsible for barbecue as long as our women, and because we're your men, we don't mean to be possessive, but as long as y'all get on these sides.
But here's the thing, Gabe. We've been doing the whole package.
For
years.
I'm saying
y'all getting on the grill is actually helping us. The sides gonna be that much better.
Look, I'm just speaking on the fact. I'm like I said, we've seen, the tweets and the comments from women about men not being, not barbecuing, but a lot of us men, we don't have the platform to push out the fact that a lot of women cannot cook. There are women who do cook. It's not that good. I know a few of y'all. I'm not even thinking about the ones who just
ladies,
can't cook.
We will, how about, we're going to start passing that down. So old head men, right? We need y'all to start teaching our millennial men the ways, secrets.
Yes, we need to learn them.
Because I kind of think that there was also just a gap in that knowledge being passed down. So I think that's part of it. And then the same way I learned from my older sisters, right? And from older women how to make certain things that go with barbecue. Hell, we be making greens at our barbecue at this point. So yeah, like, right. So yeah, at this point, I do think that everyone needs to be involved. And I'm gonna be honest, it's also time for us to start passing some of this down to Gen Z, because some of them are in their 20s now.
Yeah.
And so in 10 years, they're going to be the aunties.
So this is very important to our early 20s. So if you are in your early, now I understand a lot of y'all done went out to college. A lot of y'all don't, y'all at the Henny Fest and y'all having a good time. And we not mad at it because we did it when we were in our 20s. But we're just giving you the heads up.
At the barbecue, I might tell you to come in the kitchen and learn something.
You're going to have to fall in line.
Yep.
Last part. So this is the summer. Top 3 things we need at our cookouts. Okay. Top 3 things. I need to know your top 3. I'll give you my top 3.
Top 3 at the cookout.
Top 3 things that just got to be A1 or you just want them to be A1. I'll give you my top 3.
Okay.
So my top 3 things that I just have to have that are that just got to be on top. The drinks. Drinks got to be A1. Got to have plenty of alcohol. That's just one. Number 2, brisket. Brisket gotta be on point. The third one, deviled eggs. Those are my top 3. If we got drinks, brisket, deviled eggs. If those 3, those are my top 3 necessities for. I like that. Gotta have it. I'm just talking food. We're just talking food.
Oh, food wise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Food and drink.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, the meat has to be tender.
But what kind of meat? You gotta be specific now.
Well, I don't eat pork. So for me, the thing that I think is most important, I love me some skewers. Yeah, if you can put together some skewers for me, like seafood or chicken or whatever, I'm good because I get a nice little balance of veggies and meat. Love that. Baked beans gotta be right.
Baked beans.
If you are not putting ground turkey in your baked beans, come holla at me because you obviously did not learn the right way to do baked beans. Third thing, I'm gonna say the drinks too, and specifically the mixers, because I hate when I go somewhere and there's only soda to mix my stuff with, and I'm just like, as a community, we're kind of coming off of that. So I think some different options like seltzers, juices.
We got a little.
We're trying not to die. We're trying not to die. So
high in sugar.
And what we're realizing, I think, as we get older, is the hangover actually comes from the mixer. It comes from the sugar.
True.
Not the alcohol. Facts. So like for me, yeah, making sure that we're doing something outside of pork for people and outside of soda is very important for anything that I throw.
Okay.
But now outside of food, games. First of all, let's do music. Music gotta be on point. Because that's gonna set the whole tone.
That's true.
That's gonna set the tone.
Right,
so make sure your sound is good.
Make sure your sound
is good. And the playlist is good. Games, and I'm talking adult and kid games, because we're getting to that point where it's like, go play with the kids, right? Like we're telling kids to go off and do kid shit. So I like to have stuff that's gonna keep them busy running around with each other, all of that. And then I'm gonna probably say just like enough seating, especially if like the older aunties and uncles come over. We can stand all day long. We can lean on the counter. But I hate to see like somebody's grandma or somebody's meemaw like standing up. So plenty of seating
is a necessity.
Yeah.
Sure. So
like just making sure that we have plenty of seating for people who need to take a load off every so often. So yeah.
Now that's probably mine too. Outside of my top 3, outside of food and drink, music, seating, and I'm gonna say games for sure, because like a good, like my Mexican side, we just did like our first time actually we did Jeopardy, and we did it like Easter, like last year or something, and it was lit. So I really think that family games need to be more incorporated. So yeah, so y'all, that was our.
All right, staying out of these streets this summer in case we got to move to Mexico. We got to save some money.
Just in case, y'all. So wrapping up, like, follow, subscribe, all of that. We appreciate y'all rocking with us, and we'll see you next time.
All right, later.
Peace.
And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.